get started today, we have several guest speakers with us today. So due to everybody's being conscious of everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Dr. Klaw and then the panelists that are here with us today.
And I am actually going to introduce Jemerson Diaz right away. Jemerson, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about what we're doing today?
Okay. Well, just a little bit about myself is I was a vet. I'm still a Vet Connect peer educator, peer leader. I met Dr. Klaw back when I first transferred over to San Jose State from Evergreen Valley College, and we've just been through plenty of journeys together and just getting the word out there on our transition as military service members transitioning to civilian life and what that's like. So we're here with 4 veterans all together. There's Doug, Jeffrey, who are both Vietnam veterans, and there's Andy and myself, OIF, OEF type veterans. And our discussion today is going to be about, just educating civilians about the experiences, our challenges, the strengths and perspectives of different generations of veterans. So when it comes to the first, I wanted to give the vets some idea of what the questions are going to be, and then we're going to go down those questions. We only have about 10 minutes per question altogether, so it would be like 40 minutes with a little bit of leeway, and we do want to be able to pass the ball just enough so that everybody gets a fair share, and I'll help facilitate that and also participate as well. So this is just like a little bit of the preview of the questions so you guys have an idea of what to say ahead of time, and we'll kind of work from there. So the first question would be like, tell me about your service in the military era that you were in. Number 2, tell me about your transition, specifically challenges and coping. Number 3 would be, how are you personally coping now that we're all in quarantine? What risks exist for veterans related to coping? And number 4, what strengths and challenges do you feel you have right now that relate to your military experience? So that being said, the first question, I'll go ahead and start off. It says, tell me about your service in the military era. Right now I'm 33, almost 34. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18, and I signed up as 0311, which is rifleman. And when we were after boot camp and after School of Infantry, they said anyone who has like a driver's license is going to be a light armored vehicle crewman. So I got switched to basically being a driver for these miniature looking tanks that have wheels instead of tracks, and those are called light armored vehicles. I was stationed in 29 Palms. I had one tour in Iraq from around 2005 2006, and I'm diagnosed with PTSD as well as bipolar type 1. And what happened was I got medically retired because I had a manic episode on base. And from there, just had a lot of mental health issues. But being able to go from there, it's been one heck of a journey to go and do all the things I've done and kind of be here now, working with vets, working with civilians, getting involved with school and all those kinds of things. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on. I'll just go down the list. I'll pass it on to Doug. If you just tell us a little bit about your service in your military era.
I was in the Army, 67 to 71. I enlisted to keep from being drafted. And what we did is with signal intelligence, we listened to the other guy's communications, and we were able, through electronic means, to find out where the signal was coming from. And that's pretty valuable intel to the guys on the ground. You want me to continue with when I got out, or?
Well, it's just if we're just kind of educating the civilians about what it was like in your military era, just a quick synopsis about your service, just to give a short highlight.
Okay, I have PTSD. I also have diabetes from Agent Orange.
Oh, wow.
I'm not unique in this. I'm meeting a lot of guys, both younger guys and guys my own age, who have these same issues. I started working as a counselor with the county of Santa Clara, doing claims work for veterans, and it just occurred to me one day, I got these same issues. I got exactly the same issues these guys have. And I never had any idea there was anything wrong with me until then. So that's like 40 years intervening. I just made do. I did what my father did after World War II. I kept busy, pathologically busy. Always had to have something to do, some work project. And during college, I waited tables, and I had a pretty full schedule, all the papers and exams. And college got me through that because it filled up my time and it gave me definite goals. I didn't set the place on fire. You know, I had a pretty solid B average, but I majored in anthropology, which didn't really get me anywhere. But a liberal arts education, I'm still a believer in that. I got a master's later in education that I didn't really use for working with children, but I work with veterans, and I found adult education very satisfying.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much, Doug. I'm going to pass this on over to Jeffrey now. You just told us a little bit about your service and your military.
Thank you, Jemerson. Thank you, Doug. Drafted into the Army April 13th, 1966, out of San Jose State. I was 20 years of age. To increase the numbers of military members required to fight in Vietnam, I took my training very seriously. I graduated out of basic, top of my class. They sent me to leadership school prior to AIT. And then as a 11C40, sent to Davy Crockett School to learn how to shoot a small nuclear weapon out of the back of a Jeep. I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado for the remainder of my service, and observed the men who were returning from Vietnam and measuring the damage that was done to many of them. I have to say I was the lucky one. I was the one between 1966 and 1968 who did not have to go to Vietnam. I became a battalion training NCO and left the Army as a sergeant within 18 months. Well, that was my military experience. And I came back to San Jose State. Within a week, I was back in a classroom, out of a uniform into European art history. And what a transition when we go from this very hyper-masculinized culture of the Army, any member of the military for that matter, back into the classroom where the language culture that you've been utilizing for the last 2 years will not align very well with English 1B. And so it was an attempt to really align myself with an absolutely new objective, and that was education. I became eventually an elementary school teacher in the San Jose Unified School District for the last 34 years. And when we get on to some of the other questions, I'll deal more directly with what I've done to cope with the issues that have beleaguered me. Thank you, Jemerson, for the question.
Sure. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate it. Okay, Andy, passing it over to you. Tell me about your service in the military and the era that you served.
All right. Thanks, Jemerson, and to the fellow speakers that spoke before me. My name is Andy. I was in the military for 4 years, 2011 to 2015. I was a combat engineer in the Marine Corps. So, like like a little bit that entails that job is blowing stuff up for for my fellow Marines that are usually infantrymen. So then there was that. I did not go to combat. That's an honor that I can't take. And but what I did do in the military is I went on 2 non-combat deployments to the Philippines and to
Oh, wow.
Thailand, and and we were also tasked out to as a relief effort for one of the big typhoons that hit the Philippines. So we got sent out and help recover some bodies and build some schools up. Let me see. I'm reading off the questions. My transition home wasn't as bad as most other veterans, but still there's a big culture shock. Like Jeffrey said earlier, there's like a huge difference in like the culture. Right here, specifically in the Bay Area, I found out the hard way that most people are not as like accustomed to my type of humor, and that's something that a lot of my fellow veterans find themselves like being misunderstood by the rest of society, and that was kind of hard for me because I came home and I kind of felt like an outsider looking in, and that took me a really long time to get used to, and ever since then, like it's been hard to make friends that aren't veterans, and most people that try to like see what's going on, that don't like relate to this mentality of like a living, find it kind of hard to like see things my way, and it's just hard. But that's enough with that question. How am I coping now with the quarantine?
So Andy, like we're gonna go down the list, like
Yeah.
one at a time. But yeah, thank you for going into that. In regards to transitioning over, I'm glad that you brought up something that really touched something significant. I like how you mentioned that basically the military world is extremely different from the civilian world. Like when we grow up until 18 or whenever we decide to join the military, we know what the civilian world is like because we don't consider any difference between the civilian world and the military world.
Yeah.
But when we get into the military, every branch is different, but the military world is just different. It has its own everything, and its humor, I would say, is quite vulgar, to say the least, just because of the life it has. And in the military, the boundaries, almost like there's no boundaries in the military. And then when you come back over to being a civilian, you have to come back to learn to respect all the little boundaries that are there. And if you cross anything, it's a big deal, especially when it comes to humor and the language we may use and how we intend it, or so on and so forth. So thank you for bringing up how humor and veterans, that's kind of like our small little area we could come back to and feel a little bit normal again. For me, when it came back to when we first transitioned, something that was difficult for me was doing something as simple as walking in the grass. You know, like in the Marine Corps and boot camp, you're not allowed to walk in the grass. You're not allowed to like touch your face. You're not allowed to you're not allowed to carry things in your right hand because you have to salute with that hand. You have to say, you know, buy my leave, sir, or however you do all that. There's just a lot of things that you're broken down to learn and relearn a whole new world. And then when you get out, it's just like I get you know, I don't have to put my cigarette butts in my pocket or whatever, you know, those small little things like that. So for me, it took a while. I had to feel like I had to break the military rules over and over and over and over again in order to kind of condition myself that it's okay for me to not be rigid. It's okay for me to kind of just breathe and learn to get in touch with myself again. It's okay to be creative. It's okay to do all those kinds of things. So I kind of just, for me, I just buried myself in being active, like school. If I could get active in school, I would just involve myself as much as possible to kind of try to adapt in the best way I could. But going to like the Vietnam vets, I'll go to first Doug and then Jeffrey. When you first transitioned back from your service in Vietnam or however it was, what were some of the specific challenges you faced and how did you cope with that? I'll go with Doug first.
I had a transitionary period to transition in. I was in Japan for the latter 2 years of my 4-year enlistment. And at first I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I took the University of Maryland classes in Japanese, a basic grounding in the grammar. My vocabulary always sucked, and my mastery of the Chinese characters that form the stems of verbs and nouns is, you have to know 700 to read a newspaper. I never quite got there, but I could keep from starving to death. I could travel around. The hard thing was getting a perfect sentence out, probably quite by accident on a train because somebody's sitting next to you. You get the sentence out and you don't understand the guy's reply. So you have to tell him, would you please talk more slowly? But that was very rewarding. I learned a lot about Japan, the Japanese culture. When I got back to the U.S., I had a new wife. She's Japanese. And I got back into college. And I waited tables. And my fellow waiters, a lot of them were older black guys. I grew up around black people, but not that closely, not that we were co-workers. And that was very interesting as well. I made my faux pas. And I found that I even had some trouble with people, my own peer group, people who weren't veterans. I walked into a guy's house and he had just gotten married, and I'm smoking a Tiparillo, a cigar with a little wooden end. That was a major gaffe. You don't go into somebody's house smoking a cigar. Hell, I should have known better than that. But you know, he didn't jump on me, but I could see his poor little wife's face. And, okay, I've done something here. I can't be doing this again. I had to get used to dealing with my own brothers and sisters. I was staying at my parents for a little while, and my brother came in from a date, and I sat up in bed. I said, "Who the fuck are you?" I guess I was having a dream about being in Vietnam or dream about being in the barracks, but he just started laughing. He didn't take it hard, but he still teases me about it. "Who the fuck are you?" he says. I've always been, had one foot in the military. I worked for the Department of the Army for a while as a technical writer, so I was around soldiers and the way they talk, and I always got along with them. And I felt more at home with them. And then when I started working with veterans, it was the same way. I felt I didn't have to try, but I just had a good rapport with those guys. They were my age and they'd been where I'd been. And the same with the younger guys. It was the same experience. We were all inmates in the same jail. The jail of basic training, the jail of advanced job training, the jail of a tour overseas. You're not free to come and go as you please. In Vietnam, I wasn't even free to read what I pleased. There was always somebody looking over my shoulder. What are you reading that shit for? Well, you know, he's a U.S. Senator, Sarge. But the big difference, well, we'll get into sequestering with COVID later, but there's some parallels between that and the Army, and there's some important differences too.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. So Jeffrey, I'm going to hand it over to you. If you could just tell me about your transition home, and specifically whatever challenges you might have faced, and how did you cope with those?
Yeah. Thank you, Jemerson, and thank you, Doug, again. Coming back to San Jose and attending San Jose State, within a week of Army, and then all of a sudden I'm back in the classroom, was really, and I used my GI Bill for the next 2 years, hoping to finding graduation at the end of that time period. But I think the thing that Doug and I would tell all of you is that those of us who took off the uniform and went to the classroom, we did not find an environment that was at all like the one you have come home to.
Yeah.
There was nothing for vets.
That's true.
Jeffrey, you still there? Okay, we might have a connection issue. Hopefully Jeffrey's still here.
Jemerson, you might want to, it seems like he's frozen.
Okay.
Back to him, perhaps.
All right, we'll just move on to Andy for now, and then hopefully get Jeffrey in a bit.
Okay. Let's see. What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So I know you spoke a little bit about like humor, but going back to like, tell me a little bit about your transition home, and specifically any particular challenges, and how did you cope with those particularly?
Okay. Off the top of my head, I could talk about two very distinct challenges, but we're on a time limit here, so I'll just stick to one, which is probably going to be more beneficial to our audience. I got out in 2015, and after that, I wanted to go to school and use my GI Bill. So it turns out that the VA gave me the Montgomery GI Bill. And for those that don't know how the GI Bill works, there's two, actually three if you count voc rehab, but two main ones that are the Montgomery GI Bill and the post 9/11. The post 9/11 pays more, BAH, which is our monthly allowance for schooling, depending on the cost of living of your zip code. So the VA gave me the Montgomery GI Bill, which gave me $1,200 each month, and that was kind of like a huge slap in the face, because I did 4
you should have
years
got way more.
honorable, and
Yeah.
and I reached out to the VA for my first 2 years at junior college, and it was just like back and forth fighting. Like I felt like I was fighting for something that I earned, and and that kind of sounds like really bad coming from like from a post 9/11 GI Bill, when there's Vietnam vets here in the panelists that don't have or didn't have the luxuries that I have right now. But the thing is that I fought back and forth with the VA, and then I pretty much said enough is enough, and I called my congresswoman, and she took care of what I couldn't take care of in 2 years. She she took care of it in 2 weeks. So
Oh, wow.
so I got the post 9/11, and I got back paid for all that missing time.
Nice, man. Thank you for telling us that. That's crazy. I think I've never heard that a vet had to fight for something that he earned already. So it's weird. That sucks that you had to do all that just to get what um, you already deserved. And also, you're very right about, I'm not a veteran from the Vietnam era, so yeah. If Doug, if you could just talk a little bit about that real quick, if you could help educate not only the students and civilians, but also the rest of us vets who were born a lot later. Can you tell us just a little bit about your experience coming home, like from the VA? How did they treat you? And also, how did people at home treat you? Like people, like civilians, did they treat most Vietnam vets when they came home from overseas or whatever?
I was glad I wasn't in a dating situation. I was already married. I'm on my third marriage now, and that's going very well. But I had a hard time getting along with everybody, even my wives. I'm glad I wasn't dating because I didn't think that a woman my age would find anything I had to talk about interesting, or that I'd be seen as a baby killer, whatever. That's an exaggeration of how it really was. I had some situations in college in which fellow students in a discussion in class would throw off on the GI Bill, and it said, screw that stuff. We shouldn't be paying these people for the stuff they did in Vietnam. And I pretty much kept quiet, but the ringleader of these guys was the class president, and he was collecting money for the gift from our class to the college. And I guess I one-upped him. I made a very generous gift to that I couldn't really afford. And my message to him was, here's your goddamn gift.
Wow. That's crazy.
I did have my wife ask me, why are you so weird? And I just thought, some people just don't like the disco. Some people don't like noisy places. And that was me. I would take her anywhere she wanted to go. But the reason our marriage failed is both of us were immature brats who weren't willing to put the work into making a go of marriage. And the unfortunate thing was that we had a son. He's 41 years old now and pretty well adjusted. But we put him through a bit of hurt. My wife now has an interesting way of dealing with me. It's a combination of extreme gentleness and I'm not going to take with so much of this guff. Well, it works. It works for us. And I get out of line, she'll tell me, hey, chill. It's okay. Chill.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Doug. I know, Jeffrey, you're back. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your transition home and specifically any particular challenges you faced and how you coped with that.
Yeah, before I froze, what I was going to share with you was the environment that people like Doug and I came home to. And specifically, the environment you're more familiar with, which would be San Jose and the environs of San Jose State. So the anti-war fervor was very thick, very strong at San Jose State. And most vets were ghost-like and apparitions when it came to a lot of things of that ilk. Some of the men who came home that were very angry at their complicity in what they had seen wore their fatigue jackets and their army boots, and you'd see them at all the anti-war rallies. And I'm at San Jose State during the time period of of Tommy Smith and John Carlos. That's when I'm there. That's the summer of '68. And I remember the campus as just being, it had so much high energy involved with the war. So I can tell you one thing. 3 months after I'd taken off my uniform, a young lady in my European art history class liked me. Well, she loved me. And we can't ever underestimate what love can do to a soldier. And that was the beginning of a real softening for me, and an ongoing exploration of how important those kind of qualities are in anyone's life. But more importantly, for somebody who doesn't feel all together.
Mm.
So yeah, that was really big, and I would really grow from a relationship. Not everybody's fortunate enough to be in a relationship, especially one that you seem to be really benefiting from. And yeah, I mean, it only lasted 4 years, but oh my goodness, the critical issue here is time, because as before I was frozen, I was sharing with you that there was simply no services. There were no support systems. There wasn't any place to go. The college lounge might have had veterans in it, but you wouldn't have known who they were, and they were not raising their hand. So yeah, that was the transition. And once again, I count myself amongst the lucky ones.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jemerson.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go to the third question. How are you specifically coping now that we are all in quarantine? And what risks exist for veterans related to coping? So for me, it's interesting. Since we're in this quarantine, there's a lot of chaos going on. There's unfortunately a lot of racism happening. I know that it was a lot worse back in like the 60s and 70s, but it's sad to see the level of racism that's going on right now. Another thing is the fires, the chaos and confusion. A lot of things are divided. It doesn't seem like we're very happy as a country. A lot of countries don't like us. So it almost feels like it's like the apocalypse and it's like the end of the world. And it's seemed like that for a lot of things. So with me, I'm a little bit double-sided in regards to how I'm coping with all this. I think for the military, we're kind of prepared for disaster. So in a way, amongst the chaos, this is just me talking for myself, but in the chaos, I think certain veterans, or if not all veterans, have like this feeling of, oh good, I kind of feel at home because I kind of like the chaos, because this chaos makes me get into survival mode. If I have to be in fight mode, that's kind of good, because that's how we were trained. We were trained for disaster. And so now that things are disastrous, I'm ready to go. So things are kind of like switched on. A downside about that is like, this is just me thinking like, what is that is that bad? Is that bad that would it be bad to be kind of like excited that things are kind of hectic like this? At the same time, it's just, also it reminds me a little bit about when I was like in the Marines. We had a second lieutenant that just didn't do a good job. And when they eventually changed our lieutenant, the platoon did a lot better. They were more in sync. We got our morale back up, and we were able to flow just a lot better. So we're not really sure exactly what needs to be done during this time. And the next part of the question was, what risks exist for veterans related to coping? I think it depends on the veteran. I know just from my experience and also from talking to other veterans, it's kind of hard to be in a relationship. I know a lot of veterans who've had divorce upon divorce upon divorce, and it's hard to, sometimes it's pretty hard to be with veterans. We're not easy people to get along with for the long haul sometimes. And I think there's a lot of things we're wrestling in ourselves. If we're isolated all the time, especially in quarantine, I think poses a great risk for those specifically in suicide, because veterans that isolate themselves, or anyone that isolate themselves, it increases the possibility of, well, what's the point of doing all this? I'm pretty bored and I hate my life, kind of thing. So I think that's a major risk for us to be isolated. We need to have time for friends, time for things that we enjoy, and learning and being around people. And that's a very important thing for everybody, I think. So I think, well, for me, I have my dog with me almost all the time. And like he hasn't left my side, so that makes me happy. I like to explore, even though things are crazy right now. I still like to take some time to explore, and places that I could go to, it makes me kind of happy just to figure things out. I just take it one day at a time and try to make the most of each day, because tomorrow I might not be alive, but I'll try to make the most of today. And that's other things that I'm doing for coping. I would do art. I like writing, reading, music, singing, things that cooking sometimes, and meeting new people. That's what I'm currently doing right now. And also getting in touch with Mother Earth about like nature, and realizing that, Mother Earth is a living being that I have to be in touch with, and I have to be in touch with my own intentions, and that everything that I do affects like the universe. So if I put a lot of bad intentions out there, she's probably going to get really mad and take it out on me in the future. So it's better if I do good things to the universe. Anyway, so I'm going to go down the list. Doug, if you just let us know, how are you personally coping now that we are all in quarantine? And what risks exist for veterans related to coping?
I think I'm lucky. I'm sequestered with probably the best possible person for me to be sequestered with. We looked at each other the other night and said, hey, we still like each other. And after all this time, we've been together 25 years.
Wow.
It is, you can be lonely. You can isolate yourself even within a relationship. You can stay too much in your own head. And I'm walking that tightrope like a lot of people are. You want to be a responsible, informed citizen. But then sometimes you think, oh my God, I'm sorry I heard that at this time. I don't know how to react to that. And it seems that we're constantly being blindsided by something that threatens what little bit of a democracy we still have, things that threaten their safety. And we should have learned in the military that we're not all powerful. We can't change a lot of things. But if it's something we can change, we ought to try to do it, even if it's letting my opinion be known in a responsible way. One thing I like from the military is order. Knowing where I stand, knowing where all my stuff is. I took up backpacking as a hobby in my 40s. And the neat thing about backpacking is I know in my pack where my cups are. I know that the spoons are inside the cups. Okay. I know where the snacks are. I know where the starches are. I know where the meats are.
Right.
I know where the warm clothes are, and I know the warm clothes I can sleep in, and those that I better not sleep in. And I know where the clean clothes are. And I just like that sense of order. And I'm the same way in the house. And fortunately, my wife is very much that way too. There's one thing that drives me nuts. It's noise, unnecessary noise. When somebody drops a pile of dishes, especially in a restaurant, or even handling pots and pans loudly here, that drives me nuts. And I've heard from other veterans that it bothers them too. When my captain was killed, the mortar round fell on him in the barracks, but they were storing beer cans in there, and all that stuff got shredded. I can still hear that sound, and it rattling dishes, pots and pans. It just bothers me. And my wife, in her wise way, just says, "Okay, you cook the next meal." That pretty much shuts me up.
Nice, nice, awesome. Thanks, Doug. Jeffrey, I'm going to go over to you. If you could just let us know, how are you personally coping right now in regards to the quarantine, and what risks exist for veterans related to coping?
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to share with those who are watching and listening to this right now is the powers of writing, and whether it's prose or it's poetry, writing down our thoughts and our feelings. When the quarantine hit, it was aligned with the beginning of baseball season, which, as everyone remembers, oh, my internet connection is unstable. I hope I can continue. And so I thought about what I wanted to. If the virus was going to get me, there were so many things I still hadn't expressed and hadn't talked about. So I began on Facebook, I began to write 3, 4, 5 paragraphs every day.
Oh, wow.
And I called it Baseball Season Suspended, post number 1. Well, it went on I did 120 posts. And then that particular day, baseball season resumed. So I stopped doing it. But along with Doug, who's talking today, he and I belong to a group that strongly are committed to believing in the collective healing of poetry and writing and expressing about all of our feelings and experiences. So this has been very helpful. It's a real healing activity. We've seen it not only for vets, but our veterans of life, women who have been traumatized, women who want to talk about their experiences, not necessarily from the military, but just from life. And so this is a very, very important aspect of my life. But I'll say the following as well. Jemerson, nothing is more reparative than a good garden. Fall down on your knees in the soil and to nourish a plant or whatever it is you're growing. Whether you have a dog, or in my case, we got a kitten, and my love has just been amplified by this little kitten who's like 4.5 months old now, and I'm living the life. One of the really important things for vets and all of us, and that is to never shrink from self-analysis, to look at yourself in the mirror. That's really important, because the downside of that is what will happen to you as a vet or anyone. If you're not doing that, you may diminish everything by numbing yourself with any number of addictive things. I mean, it's from the things that you intake, drugs, alcohol, whatever, or the things you intake through your mind, what you read, what you follow on Facebook, those kinds of things. Whatever you do is followed by self-analysis. You know, I mean, and then we have all these opportunities like what we're doing right now, reaching out in our community to talk to others and being deep listeners and listening to what they have to say. This is a real healing experience. Somebody out there might have a dad or a grandpa or a great uncle, and they've never been able to quite figure that guy or that gal out, and it can be really helpful. Anyway,
awesome.
That's what
Thank you so
wanted
much, Jeffrey. Yes, we have one more question left, but we still need to get to Andy on this. So Andy, how are you personally coping now that we're all in quarantine, and what risks exist for veterans related to coping?
All right, this is a doozy. My response isn't going to be as eloquent as the previous panelists, but I have found myself being more calm going through this by having stuff to do. I recently got accepted back at my old job, working as a lifeguard. So I'm doing that, and I'm also a full-time student. I'm taking my capstone class this semester, so there's a lot of writing, and I'm also a McNair scholar.
Wow.
So I'm also working on my manuscript. That's going to be due next semester, and hopefully I get published. I'm praying for that. So I've got my my hands full with more stuff than I could think on how to possibly manage this. So keeping busy keeps me happy, I guess.
I know did you mention before that I heard that you're doing something with humor, right? Like something like a gong show, except something like that.
It's still like a pilot project that me and Dr. Klaw are going back and forth on, but we want to do something about a comic strip. So
nice.
So there's that, and I want to get veterans involved. So get them involved and hopefully come up with something good.
No, I think that's wonderful, man, because like when vets are hanging around each other, it's nothing but laughter. We're talking crazy stories, and everyone's just laughing about everything. Like, "Whoa, you did that!" And then but yeah, I mean, it'll be good for, even though other people who may not have been in the military, they may not understand why it's funny, but laughter is a human condition. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, for some crazy reason, this is funny to us, even though it's insane. But I'm glad that you're working on that project, and along with the other things that you're doing, which is awesome. Okay, so this is the last question. We literally have 9 minutes left, so we have to go quick on this last one. The last question is, what strengths and challenges do you feel you have right now that relate to your military experience? Okay, I'm just gonna say my challenge. Gosh, I would say one of my main challenges is working with my family. And in regards to that, how I mean, personally, like my mom, I would say, like my mom's the sweetest woman in the world. I'm Filipino, and so Filipino moms are like, caretakers and nurses and all that. And my mom's like a dental assistant, but she always wants to like take care of me and like, oh, you have bipolar, let me take care of you. Or you have PTSD, I'm gonna take care of you. And I just had like, dude, I went to freaking Iraq. Like, just give me some freaking space. Like, get this stupid security blanket off my back. Like, it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, stop treating me like I'm 3 years old. It's just that has always been a challenge, especially like after having PTSD and like going to this psych ward how many times over certain things or whatever. It's like I made it through a lot of stuff. Like, don't treat me like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'll figure it out. Just let me do it. Anyway, But yeah, that's one of the challenges that I have to face every time I am with my family. So that's one of the reasons why I'm out here in Oregon. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Doug. If you could just let us know like what strengths or challenges you have right now in relation to your military experience.
I think one way of coping with PTSD is to realize what it is you've got and what sets you off, what gets you upset. And I tell the VA guys, I don't need one of these dogs. I got a wife who does that. She knows when I'm upset and she knows what to tell me. My VA shrinks tell me more than one that I wear a mask. I'm a real nice guy. I'm soft-spoken, very polite. And some of the time, I'm seething inside.
Mm.
I rarely go off on anybody. Somebody has really gotten to me if you see me go off on it.
Oh, yeah.
My shrink, another shrink asked me, do you think about hurting yourself or other people? I said, listen, sir. I wouldn't give the bastards who sent me over there the satisfaction of killing myself.
Mm.
They wanted when they sent me over there, I wouldn't give them the damn satisfaction.
Mm. Wow.
So the last sentence in his report was, veteran has anger issues.
Nice.
I think a lot of us have these things. And by knowing yourself and what sets you off, then you can head off anything you might do in response to that.
Nice.
Does that help any?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We have 6 more minutes left, so about 3 minutes for Jeffrey and 3 minutes for Andy. Jeffrey, if you could let us know what your strengths and challenges you feel you have right now that relate to your military experience.
And Jemerson, cut me off if I go too long.
Yes, sir.
I am 6 months older than the current occupant in the White House. How he could have benefited from what I experienced, because I walked away from the college classroom into the life of men that I would have never, ever encountered. And so the strength of my military services continues to this day as an impetus. The energy that I drew from that experience. Number one, I wanted education so badly when I got out. I was an entirely different kind of student once I got back into the classroom. I hardly could recognize myself. Well, what did the Army give me? Well, it did give me, as Doug said, order. And I had a new sense of discipline. And then because of the suffering and pain I saw while I was in the service, it sent me on a spiritual journey that I continue to this day. And so I look for answers from within. That's where they're ultimately all going to be found. And yes, my journey continues. I'm a meditator. I look at a challenge maybe more as a gift. You know, you were talking about the two sides of a coin, and it's how maybe we hold that coin in our hand.
Oh, yeah.
So the challenge becomes a gift. Enforced solitude, maybe there's something I really can do with that I wouldn't have done if I was being pushed out into the world more than I was. So anyway, it's how I think we look at things, what's our perspective, how we frame things. Constantly I'm reminded of. But yeah, the great empathy that came out of that experience being in the service and meeting people like Doug, oh my gosh. It's been the best. So anyway, and meeting people like you, Jemerson.
Oh, well, thank you.
We are all, to my mind, very much connected, always. So.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Andy. Andy, what strengths and challenges do you feel you have right now that relate to your military experience?
I'll keep it short since we're short on time. A strength, I would say, there's there's something in the military called hurry up and wait. That taught patience for me. So that's definitely a strength that I take from my experience, and a challenge for me, I would say, like I was talking about earlier, just being more politically correct in my discussions with civilians and people that don't have a high tolerance of insensitive topics.
Yeah.
I guess that's all for me.
How did you deal with that, if you don't mind me asking? Because I know you transitioning over. Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
so, did you have like it was? That's also happened to me, and did you feel like you were like, oh my gosh, I'm the wrong person here, like I don't belong here because like they hate me, kind of thing, you know what I mean? Did you feel like it's like a oh, you're a felon because you said something offensive, and like oh shoot, oh my gosh, like what am I doing here? You know what I'm talking about?
At first, I thought that there was something wrong with the people that were calling me out, but then I had to sit down with someone, and she explained to me, like, who was also a veteran, and told me, look, things are a little different out here, and that was kind of like the pinnacle for me to like realize that some of these people aren't like cut out for my sense of humor, and that was rough because like I said earlier, I thought there was something wrong with those people, but it was me.
Wow, it's tough to face that, because like you could have that same exact humor with like back in whatever unit you were in, and like everybody would be laughing, like it would be just fine, like perfectly fine. But that exact same sentence or whatever, it's like 100% not fine. So it's like it's a shock, because it's almost like you don't want to be yourself anymore, and it's like, well, who am I, kind of a thing. And is that something that's you're still processing through right now, Andy?
To a sense, yes. It feels like, I don't want to get graphic, but like it feels like I'm kind of neutering myself, just like,
wow,
like it's the person that I am in front of like other people that aren't veterans is not the real me, and it feels like disingenuous to myself.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much. Great discussion, guys. I just wanted to say thank you to Doug, Jeffrey, Andy. Thank you for being here, for talking about like vulnerable issues, and for everybody who's watching, AmeriCorps and Dr. Klaw, who put this together, along with everyone involved who are supporting us, and anyone who will be watching this. I hope you get something from a little bit of our perspectives on our journeys and our transitions from different eras. But in the long run, I hope you could recognize that we're all just people. We were people before we joined the military. We're people in the military. We're people outside the military. And we're just trying to learn, because some things were broken in us, and we're trying to figure it out on our own. And we're just doing the best we can. So I hope that this will help whenever you do talk to veterans. And if I hope you do go up and talk to veterans, because they'll a lot of us crave that. A lot of us just crave that human connection. So thank you for being here, and for being with us today.
And I want to say, if you can you hear me? Thank you so much for all of you. My heart is in a completely different place than it was this morning. I'm still gonna laugh and cry, and I agree with the points that you brought up. We're all connected as human beings, and my life is richer because of each of you. And I'm really honored that you participated in this discussion and that you were able to be so open and vulnerable. And it really is a gift to all of us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks for chasing me, Elena.
Oh, that's what I do, right? That's my job. I chase veterans. I don't know how. I'm laughing. They know it's true, right? All right. Be well. And I know Joanna's going to talk to the AmeriCorps members, and you're going to get feedback from the AmeriCorps members who are Civic Action Fellows, and the conversations can continue.
Thank you so much for sharing.